June 2004, $180,000. One signature. Jake Patterson bought a brand new Case IH STX450 Steiger, 450 horsepower, GPS guided, the most advanced tractor money could buy. His father kept farming with a 1947 Farmall H 23 horsepower. No cab, manual steering. Everyone called the old man stubborn. Jake's loan payment, $2,147 per month for 7 years. Total cost with interest, $239,160. His father's tractor, paid off in 1952. Operating cost, $340 annually in parts and oil. 20 years later, only one of these tractors still farms. It's not the one you think. And the reason why will make you question everything modern agriculture tells you about efficiency. This is the story of two farmers, two philosophies, and one brutal lesson about debt. Jake Patterson stood in the Case IH dealership on June 17, 2004, pen hovering over the contract. The STX450 gleamed under fluorescent lights. Steiger red, 16-foot wingspan, tires taller than a man, 450 horsepower. The dealer smiled. His father, Robert Patterson, 71 years old, stood 20 feet away, arms crossed, silent. He'd driven his 1947 Farmall H to the dealership. Took him 40 minutes at 12 miles per hour on county roads. The old tractor sat in the parking lot, faded red paint, exhaust stack slightly bent, steering wheel worn smooth by 57 years of hands. "You buying that thing?" Robert asked. Jake signed. The dealer extended his hand. Robert walked out, started the Farmall. Black smoke coughed from the exhaust. The engine settled into its familiar rhythm, a sound Jake had heard his entire childhood. Thump, thump, thump. 23 horses pulling nothing but pride. The Patterson Farm, 840 acres in central Iowa. Corn and soybeans. Jake farmed 640 acres. His father farmed 200. Same land, same soil, same weather, different philosophies. Jake believed in efficiency. Scale, leverage, technology would multiply his productivity, and debt would multiply his profits. His father believed in one thing: paid-for equipment never gets repossessed. Month 1 with the STX450. Jake loved it. Climate-controlled cab. Satellite guidance accurate to 2 inches. He could pull a 16-row planter at 7 miles per hour. His father pulled a 4-row planter at 3.5 miles per hour. Jake finished planting 640 acres in 6 days. Robert took 14 days for 200 acres. The numbers looked good. Jake calculated his efficiency gain. He was farming 3.2 times more land in half the time. Return on investment projected at 7 years. His accountant called it aggressive but achievable. But there was something his accountant didn't calculate, something his father understood without ever opening a spreadsheet. A $180,000 tractor doesn't care about corn prices. The payment comes due whether beans bring $8 per bushel or $12. The Farmall didn't care either. It had no payments. Here's what Jake didn't know in 2004. The next 20 years would include the 2008 financial crisis, the 2012 drought that destroyed 40% of Iowa's corn crop, the 2014 price collapse when corn dropped from $7.50 to $3.20 per bushel, and the 2020 pandemic that disrupted every supply chain in agriculture. His father knew something else. He'd farmed through the 1980s farm crisis. He'd watched neighbors lose everything, not because they were bad farmers, because they had payments. Year 2, Jake's first major repair. The STX450's GPS receiver failed. Replacement cost, $8,400, not covered by warranty, classified as electronic component failure due to environmental factors. Translation, dust got in it. The dealer said it happens. Jake paid, added it to his operating loan. His father's Farmall needed a carburetor. Rebuild that year. Robert did it himself on a Saturday afternoon. Cost, $47 in parts. Time, 3 hours. He'd rebuilt that carburetor 11 times since 1947. You'd think the modern tractor's efficiency would offset its costs. It didn't. Here's why. Jake's STX450 could plant 640 acres fast, but it couldn't make those acres more profitable. Corn is corn. Soil is soil. Speed doesn't change yield. The Farmall planted slower, but Robert's 200 acres produced the same bushels per acre as Jake's 640. Sometimes more, because Robert had time to watch his fields, adjust his approach. Time, 300 meters, fix problems before they became crises. Year 4. The turning point Jake didn't see coming. Corn prices dropped to $3.85 per bushel. Jake needed $4.20 to break even with his debt service. He planted every acre he could, pushed the STX450 hard, put on 847 hours that season. The transmission started slipping in August. The dealer diagnosed it. Torque converter failure, common on high-hour machines. Repair cost, $2,4,600. Jake didn't have $2,4,600, he had debt. He called the bank. They extended his operating loan. New interest rate, 7.2%. His father kept farming. The Farmall needed a new radiator hose. Cost, $12, year 7. Jake's original loan was paid off. Sort of. He'd refinanced twice, added $32,000 in repairs to the principal. His total debt on the STX450, $197,000. The tractor's value, $94,000. He was $103,000 underwater on a machine that was supposed to make him money. Robert's Farmall was worth $4,500 to a collector. He'd spent $6,200 on it total over 57 years. Every penny he made from his 200 acres went into his pocket, not to a bank. Here's a pattern nobody talks about. Modern tractors aren't designed to be efficient for farmers. They're designed to be efficient for manufacturers. The STX450 used proprietary parts, required dealer service, needed software updates that cost $1,200 annually. International Harvester designed the Farmall H differently. Any mechanic could fix it. Any farmer could maintain it. Parts were interchangeable across 15 years of production. Robert bought his parts from a guy in Minnesota who scrapped old Farmalls. Sometimes he paid $5 for a part the dealer wanted $340 for. Year 9. The 2012 drought. Iowa got 9 inches of rain between May and September. Normal, 22 inches. Jake's corn yielded 87 bushels per acre. He needed $155 to cover costs. He lost $83,000. That year, the bank restructured again. Robert's corn yielded 89 bushels per acre. Same drought, same soil. He made $28,000. Why? No debt. Low overhead. 200 acres of 89 bushel corn at $7.40 per bushel minus $340 in operating costs equals profit. You think the story ends with Jake losing the farm? It doesn't. He didn't lose it, but he never owned it either. The bank owned it. The equipment dealer owned it. He farmed 640 acres and kept 11% of what he grew. Robert farmed 200 acres and kept 94%. Year 12. Jake's moment of clarity came on a Tuesday, March 18, 2016. The STX450's engine threw a rod. Complete engine failure. Rebuild cost, $47,000. Replacement engine, $63,000. Used tractor value with blown engine, $31,000. He'd been farming for 12 years with this machine. He'd made his payment every month. He'd worked 80-hour weeks during planting and harvest, and now he owed more on a broken tractor than it would cost to buy a different used one. He walked to his father's shop. Robert was changing the oil in the Farmall. The tractor was running. 72 years old. Original engine block. "How many hours you got on that thing?" Jake asked. Robert wiped his hands on a rag. "Don't know. Odometer quit working in 1967. He pointed at the engine. "This motor's got the original crankshaft, original pistons. I've done the rings 4 times, bearings twice, valves maybe 6 times, but it's the same engine Harvester put in at the factory in 1947. Jake did the math later. If the odometer quit at 8,400 hours in 1967, and his father farmed roughly 200 hours per year after that, the Farmall had at least 18,000 hours. The STX450 was rated for 12,000 hours before major overhaul. It failed at 6,847. The reason had nothing to do with quality and everything to do with design philosophy. The Farmall was designed when companies built things to last because reputation mattered more than upgrade cycles. International Harvester wanted farmers to buy one tractor and use it for 30 years, then tell their neighbors to buy one too. Case IH wanted farmers to trade up every 7 years. Year 15. Jake made a decision. He sold the STX450 for parts, got $18,000, still owed $142,000. The bank wrote it off, destroyed his credit. He bought a used 1980 International 1086, cost $12,000. It had 9,200 hours, no GPS, no cab, manual transmission. He hated it for 6 months. Then something changed. His fuel costs dropped by 60%. His repair costs dropped by 78%. His insurance dropped by $340 per month. He still farmed 640 acres, just slower. Took him 11 days to plant instead of 6, but he had no payment. And for the first time since 2004, he slept through the night without dreaming about debt. Robert kept farming until 2019. He was 86. He planted 200 acres that spring, harvested 187 acres that fall, had to leave 13 acres because his hip gave out and he couldn't climb on the tractor anymore. He sold the Farmall to his grandson for $1. The grandson still farms with it. The final count, 20 years later. Robert farmed 200 acres with the 1947 Farmall H for 72 years. Total invested, $6,200 in parts and maintenance. Total revenue after expenses, $847,000. Jake farmed 640 acres with a 2004 Case IH STX450 for 15 years. Total invested, $2,960 in purchase price plus $97,400 in repairs. Total revenue after all expenses and debt service, $43,000. 320 times more land. 1/20th the profit. Because efficiency isn't about speed. It's about the space between what you earn and what you owe. Here's what happened to other farmers who bought STX450s in 2004. Case IH built 1,847 units that year. By 2024, an estimated 312 were still in operation. Most were scrapped after catastrophic failures. That cost more to fix than the tractor was worth. The Farmall H production run from 1939 to 1953, 390,000 units built. Estimated survivors still farming today, 47,000. 12% still working after 70 years. Robert Patterson died in 2021. His funeral was attended by 340 people. 17 of them farmed with Farmall H's, 8 with Farmall Ms. One guy drove his 1941 Farmall A to the service. They parked the tractors outside the church, started them up after the service. The sound, that distinctive thump, thump, thump of 2-cylinder engines, echoed across the town square. Jake spoke at the funeral. He said, "My father tried to teach me something I didn't learn until I was 47 years old. He never said it directly. He just showed me. Every morning he'd walk to that Farmall, check the oil, check the water, start it up and go to work. No payment, no stress, no bank breathing down his neck. He farmed the way farmers farmed for 10,000 years. He kept what he grew. Today, Jake farms 840 acres. His father's 200 plus his original 640. He uses 3 tractors, the 1980 International 1086, a 1976 John Deere 4430, and his father's 1947 Farmall H combined purchase price, $24,500. Combined age, 137 years. Combined debt, 0. Last year, he netted $287,000. The Farmall sits in his main barn now. He starts it once a month, lets it run for 20 minutes. The engine sounds exactly like it did in 2004, exactly like it did in 1947. Thump, thump, thump. 23 horses that don't owe anybody anything. If this story changed how you think about efficiency, about debt, about the difference between working faster and working smarter, hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories about farmers who rejected the upgrade cycle and built wealth the old way. Drop a comment. What's the oldest equipment you've ever run? Where are you farming from? Thank you for watching.